Hi, this is Richard, and welcome to the long-awaited box bag class. We're going to be making a picnic basket, and I have already started and gotten it to a certain point. But before I show you where I'm at, what I wanted to do is tell you a little bit about a box bag. It's going to be intense, labor-intensive. You're going to have to be really exact with your measurements. But with a little glue, paper, and a wrapping material, you're going to be able to really make some really great box bags and have some really great projects. And these could be just really great little money makers too. I gotta just tell you, because you can make them really so unique once you get the hang of it. One of the things you need to know about a box bag is that it's made not in reverse, but by side. In other words, you're going to make your start off with the piece that's going to determine your shape, and then you're going to measure, then you're going to measure with what you're going to wrap with, and then you cut the pattern piece. And it's not like a regular bag where you make all the pattern pieces and then you make the bag. Well, in this particular case, you have to make a piece, then you make the pattern, then you make a piece, then you make the pattern, and you go on, so on, and so on, and so on. And the reason for this is that you want to take into account all the different thicknesses that take place as you wrap these different materials. So you have to account for these thicknesses, and that's why you have to make a piece, then measure, then make a piece, then measure, because everything is changing by a 1/16 and 1/8 of an inch until the bag is completed. But once you've done this and you've gotten the hang of it, and this is like, you know, what I'm showing you is generic. It's not going to change no matter what the shape of your bag is. You know, it doesn't really matter. The technique stays the same. The way you're going to make it stays the same. Now, once you've made this master pattern, it's going to be a lot of pieces. But, you know, once these pieces are cut for you in gross, you know, like 144 at a time, these bags are really easy to put together, but you need a good ventilated gluing area. So you want a good gluing area. You want the right chipboards and things like that. But it's a really interesting bag, and let me just take a minute and show you where I'm at, or let me just show you where I'm at. Now, where I started from here is right here. Okay, this is where I started from, and this is the first piece I made to determine my shape, and then I built my wrap around this piece, right? So now I know what my wrap is. And then I extended this out to get my top. But I'm going to be showing you how to get here in the tutorial. So as we go forward in the class, and this is where I got to, and this is where I'm at now. And the bag is really coming along, and as you can see, it's going to be pretty neat. So I'm going to show you how to get there, and we're going to have some fun doing it. Now, the first thing you want to do is go ahead and score your paper. And you know you start all your patterns this way. You need to start off with a straight edge, then pin, unfold, and line up your pin holes and cut. Use a steel ruler. You don't want to be using a plastic ruler. Eventually it will cut away. Okay. So the very first thing I want to do with my bag is to determine the shape. And in a picnic basket, what determines the shape is the bottom piece. And that's the very first thing we're going to do. And so this is going to have like a little oval shape. So what I'm going to do is go to the top, and I'm just going to measure down so I have a little area to work with. Here I'm going to measure down about 1 inch, and then I'm going to unfold this And I'm trying to get like an oblong shape. And line up my pinholes. Get your, that's out. And draw a straight line across. Now, I'm going to determine how wide I want this to be. I want our bag to be about 4 inches wide. Okay. So I'm going to go down and go 4 inches again. And line up my pinholes. This is what I'm going to be working on. Now I need to kind of give me something here that's going to give me a curve. So I got this right here. It's going to give me a nice curve. I'm not as proficient as my wife in using a French curve. So I'm going to do it like that. But first I better determine how long I want my bag to be. And to determine that, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say, well, it's 4 inches wide, so let's make it 8 inches. Let's make it 8 inches. Let's do that. Okay. And so what you do is you go to your center fold line, measure 4. Let me do that again. Center fold line. Measure 4. I'm going to go center fold line again. Measure 4. And then I'm going to draw another line. I don't want to cut anything yet until I'm sure of my shape. And now I'm going to go ahead and make I think I might want that to come off a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and make my shape now using this as my curve. And you know what? I'm going to look at this just to make sure this is what I want. I really do want to look at my shape to make sure it's what I want and it's the size I want. So this is pretty cute, but you know what? I'm going to make it 1 inch bigger. I think it should be a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and do 9. And you know, this is like the process that you go through. And so we're going to make it 9. We had 4. So now we're going to go from the center fold and go out 5 and 10, center fold, go out 5, 10. Okay. Now I'm good. I'm ready to make my shape. And this is going to be my shape. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Line up my pinholes. Grab my knife. Go ahead and get this bottom one. Go ahead and fold it now. Then I'm going to cut this out. spin the paper. Just trying to make sure that I'm cutting it even. Okay, it looks pretty good. And this is our shape that we're going to be working with. Now what we need to do is take this piece, and I'm going to take a piece of chip, okay, and this is a piece of 1-ply chip. You can use a 2-ply in this situation, and you want to make sure of how you're cutting it. You don't want to, like, I don't want it to be, I kind of want it to be stiff that way. So I'm going to cut this pattern piece out this way. So what I do is we're going to go ahead and trace this. And I'm going to stop for a second, and we're going to go ahead and trace this. Okay? You can stop.
Stop.
Okay. Take a piece of chip, and we're going to go ahead, and first though, you want to, here, let me sharpen my pencil a little quick. First you want to label your pattern piece, and this is your top and your bottom. Okay, top and your bottom, and you're going to cut 2, and this is your master. Okay, now the next thing you want to do is trace this. And then you're going to cut out both of these. And so what I'm going to do, since cutting out takes about a minute or 2, I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out. And as soon as I get both of these cut out, we'll be right back. Stop. I also want to point out that this is some 1-ply chip that I'm using here. And you can use a 2-ply. It all really depends on how sturdy you want the bag to be, how heavy. It's going to be pretty sturdy. Like I said, this is a 1-ply, because you have to remember that this is going to be to have 3 different parts to it: the lining and the outside, and each one is going to give it additional strength. So you have to keep that in consideration too. So, but I'm going to use this 1-ply, and I think it's just going to work perfect when I'm through. So I got this last one to cut out, and then after I do this, we'll go ahead and measure. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. And we'll measure around with a piece of Bontex in just a little 040 Bontex in just a second, okay? All right. Sound check, sound check, sound check. Okay. Sound check.
I'm rolling.
Huh? Is that recorded? Yeah, okay. I hope that's recording. Okay, the next thing we have to do after we've made our bottom piece here is we have to find the middle, and we have to go ahead and measure. I made a pinhole, took my bottom, put it on, and I made a pinhole where my center is, okay? And I think you can see the pinholes right about here. Okay, so now what we do, we need to know the distance between here and here. Now this is a 1-ply chip I'm using here, and you can see that I have to mark all of that on the pattern. This is the picnic basket. I want the direction of the chip to go in this way, meaning that it's going to bend in that direction. And so this is cut 1, and this is going to be my bottom, and this is going to be a master. So now that I got all of that on my pattern, I'm going to line up to where my middle, what do you call it, where I stuck it at, my pinhole. And I'm going to measure all the way around. And I got my measurement here. Now the other thing I'm going to take note of as I'm doing this is where my curves start. And right here, my curves start right here in these 2 spots that you can see that I have marked right here on the corners, and that's where the curves start. So when I want to mark that, so because I'm going to score my chip all along here, so this has a nice smooth bend. Okay, so I did those marks, and then I've marked over here where it ends. Okay, now I have my mark, and I'm going to measure what I have here. And I have 13 1/4. Okay? So that's what I have, 13 1/4. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to go ahead and make a pattern piece. And what I'm going to do is I've already made the pattern piece. But what I'm going to do is show you what you do. And what you do is you take this, you had your 13 1/4, and you do your pattern paper. And I'm going to say that take this as that you are an advanced student if you're making this box bag. So you already know how to get to this point. And so what I'm going to do here is make this 13, and this is 13 1/4, and I went down and I made my pin mark, and I did the same down here, made my pin mark, and cut out my pattern piece, which is 20, let me get my bigger ruler, which is 26.5, and that's what it should be, to go all the way around this. Okay? Now then, after that, what you do, you made your pattern piece. This is your pattern piece. And what you want to do on your pattern piece too is, I want you to go ahead and see this. What you're going to do on your pattern piece too is mark out what's going on with your pattern. Again, you have your picnic basket. So cut 1-ply. This is 1-ply chip. The direction is going to be so that it bends, so it's going to be like this. You're going to bend it like this. Here, let me show you. See, you're going to bend it like that. Okay? And so that's what that means, and you're going to be using a chip. Right here is where your score line's in. You're going to make 1/8 1/4 inch scores all the way across this, so this will bend, and I'm going to show you how that's done. And then I also did put my handles in. In your pattern piece, this is the front of your bag. Where these 2 pieces meet will be the back of your bag. So to get where the handles, I wanted my handles to be, I kind of just said I wanted them 1.5 inches away from the edge here. So that's what I did. I measured 1.5 inches away from my center, and then this is where I'm from here. This is the front. So this is my edge here. So I took an 1.5 inches away from that edge, and that's where I made my handle. And this is where my score area, and this is the back of the bag, and this is where my handle is going to go here, and it's the same distance, 1.5 inches. Okay? Now, what you do is once you've done all of that is you take and you make pins so that whatever is happening on one side is happening on the other side, and this is where the handles will go. Okay, and then you just mark handles, and then you'll know where your handles go. Okay, and there you go. And so this is going to be your body. This is the body, your body wrap. Sounds like going to a doctor, huh? Body wrap. I wish I needed body wrap for my stomach, right? Anyway, there we go. And this is the first piece of your bag. Now, I've already done a lot of this scoring, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish up a little scoring and show you how how I did that. And I got to go ahead and finish up right here. So I'm going to do a few scores here. And what you're doing is just placing your ruler down, and you're trying to get this distance right here. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure every time you score, that distance is fairly good. And you want to make sure that it's perpendicular. Because if you score it off wrong, it's going to bend wrong, and it's not going to work right. So your scores should be fairly even and consistent all the way across. This is, you know. Now when you're making samples, this is tedious, but after you've made your pattern, you send this off to the die makers, or however they do it these days, and they make these dies, and all of this is pre-cut. And you don't have to do this, you just take the pieces and start making the bags, which allows you to make a lot of bags at one time. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and finish this, and I'm going to show you the results right here in a minute, so you can see that they are fairly close to each other. Might as well just go ahead and finish this. Okay. And now, as you can see, those are pretty close together. And as you can see, it also helps it bend really nice rather than like this. Okay, so now I have a piece that's already, I've applied glue. And so I'm thinking that we should go ahead and try it and see if it's going to fit. And if it fits, after that, we're going to go ahead and make the wrap and put a piece of fabric around our box and keep going from there. So I want to find the middle. This is going to be my back. Okay. Then I'm going to come around this curve. Let's hope it fits. You know, sometimes you can be a little off. It's not easy when you first start making these bags to get everything perfect, and even when you've been making them for a while. I haven't made one in a while, so this is really good for me, and I haven't made a box bag in over a year, so this is really cool, and I love making them. So we're going to see how we come out here, how we fare. Looks like I'm a, ooh. What's that? Looks like a 16th off. That's what that looks like. Okay. So I'm going to fix that, and I'm just going to simply just go down. I know when I'm off, so I'm just going to go ahead and go like this, and hopefully not cut myself. And you want to be really careful when you're doing these things, okay? You don't want to injure yourself, because it's really quite easy to do that. So be careful. And these can be really, really beautiful, and they can also be a really great money maker too. I still got a little piece down here to cut. Get that right. Okay. So we're gonna finish doing this, and like I said, when I come back, I'm gonna show you how perfect I cut this, and we're gonna go from there. Okay? All right. Okay. The next thing we need to do is to go ahead and make our wrap. And the wrap is the piece that's going to go around our box and hold our material. And like we did here when we measured with the chip, now we're going to go ahead and measure our distance with the material or the paper that we're going to use to make our wrap. And in this particular case, I'm going to use a 20. And I'm going to start in the middle and go around like I did before and measure to the other middle point, just like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a little mark on my paper, my strip, and measure that. And that's going to be 13 3/8. Okay. So I'm going to take the 13 3/8 measurement I just took and go to my pattern paper, and my pattern paper is oak tag. I always use oak tag, and you can find out where to buy it on the resource page. So I know that it's going to be 4 inches wide. Okay. So I'm going to go down 4 inches and pin. Let me find my 36. This is why a 36-inch steel ruler is so handy, because when you have to do one of these long strips like this, this is what you need to do. You need to have a 4-inch strip that we needed. And then the next thing is I needed 26, and it was 13 3/8, so I'll need 26 3/4. So we're going to get this all even and measure our, and all you have to do is just remember, instead of going 26 3/4, just remember 13 3/8. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and there's the 13 3/8. Take that, line up my pinholes, and cut. Okay. Now you want to mark out your pattern, notch it, always notch your center. Okay. Then we're going to talk about our pattern. This is our wrap. We're going to cut one because that's all you need. And this is the O20. Okay, and this is going to be a flex. Okay. And since we wanted it to go that way, so it's going to bend this way, right? Since we wanted to go that way, so it's going to bend this way. Okay, and that's it. And this is for the picnic basket. Okay, there we go. And so now we have our wrap to go around our box. Let me put this here. Okay, that's the pattern. Now, this is good. That's the wrap. It's going to go around here, and we're going to attach our material to it. Okay, so now what we need to do is let's get that pattern piece back I prematurely took away. Now what we need to do is make the outside fabric piece for our box. Stop.
Recording.
Alright. So now what I need to do is make the outside fabric piece or pattern for my fabric. Okay, and so I need to go ahead and make a pattern piece for the outside fabric, and this is the fabric we're going to be using on the outside of our box. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and do that, and then we're going to make this. Let me see here. Let's go ahead and make this pattern, the outside pattern. And to do the outside pattern, what we're going to do is this. The outside pattern is 3/8 of an inch or 1/2 inch, whichever you prefer working with. Bigger than the stay for the wrap. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is do the 3/8. The 3/8 inch bigger. So I'm going to go down here and do 3/8. Come back along it. Get all this stuff out the way here. Come back along the line like this. And just draw a line. 3/8. I kind of went off there a little bit. Let's do it again. I'll use a pen this time. Okay, that's my 3/8. And that's going to go off the top. And now you can make that bigger if you want to. If you want to make that a 1/2 inch. Maybe I'll make it a 1/2 inch because it's fabric. And it may go weird on me. So let's make it a 1/2 inch. We always have the option to change our mind. Because we are the designers, right? So we can do whatever we want to and make a happy bag. Obviously, I look at that painting show, right? Okay, so now we got a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And what we do is we take this piece here that we've already made, come down, okay, and we just really trace it really quickly. Okay. We got that out the way. Then we take our ruler and we go over here. Since we did a 1/2 inch up there, we're going to do a 1/2 inch down here, and we got just enough paper to do it with. So we lucked out there. And this is our outside pattern. Okay. And this is what you're going to use for your fabric. Now, if you were doing leather, you would probably consider 3/8 of an inch as a good seam allowance because you don't have frame and stuff like that. So we're going to line up our pinholes again. And again, we go back to outside patterns. You always add 3/8 of an inch to your master, and you have your outside pattern. Okay. Let me go ahead and cut that. That's what I should have been doing, right? Okay. I ain't the perfect teacher. Just the best. Okay. Okay. We got our outside piece. Put this away. Trim my edge here. Let's see, it looks like I went off there. But this is your outside piece, so you can be a little off on your outside. It's just your fabric. See the seam allowances going over. So, let me see if I can tighten this up a little bit. Okay, I'll tighten that up, and we're back in the game. And so this is our outside piece. Okay, now what I'm going to do is grab my fabric and go ahead and cut that out. And let me go ahead and talk about a couple things here. Let me find this. Yeah, let me find these. Now, one of the things that you can do when you're making your bag, you have to consider a lot of things. Do you want this, your wrap to be soft? And if you want it to be soft, you can take a piece of new foam and shred it down really thin and lay that on it, or you can buy yourself a piece of really thin foam and lay that down. Even headliner. Joann's has a great sale on headliner, so at least by right now when this is being recorded. But you can use a little headliner and put it here, and that'll give it a little cushy tape to it, okay? But I'm going to do it a solid wrap, okay, to the box. And this is going to smooth everything out on the box if there was any lumps or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and cut out our pattern and our material, and I got to figure out how I want that pattern to be. So it's going to be up and down, and so we're going to make this. We're going to go ahead and take our outside, and everybody has a different way of cutting their fabric. I cut mine with a knife, like I do everything. I don't use scissors, so we'll have to get that together. Okay. Have to make some space here, right? Okay. Let's make some space. Made our space, and we're getting ready to go ahead and do this. Okay. Okay. So wow, let's get this without fraying too much. Okay, we got that piece out, and this is going to be my outside pattern. This is going to be my outside piece, and I'm going to glue that solid to my wrap, and my wrap is going to go like this, and we're going to glue this whole thing solid to the wrap. Okay, and that's what we're going to do. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and when that dries and everything, we're going to come back and do our wrap and everything. And now don't forget, you got to cut out your wrap on your 020 paper. Okay, whatever paper you use to measure with is the paper that you're going to use to go around your box. And this is going to be your wrap, and it's going to go around your box like this. Okay, so we're going to go get this prepped, and then we'll be back. Alright, I'm doing some gluing here, and I'm using a Wellwood contact cement. I buy it at the hardware store, and it works pretty good. So I'm using some of that, and I went around, and then at the bottom, because we're going to be attaching our material here. And I'm also doing the wrap, because we want this to be a permanent gluing. Now on the other side of this, I used rubber cement, and the rubber cement is going to go where the fabric is going to go on this. We don't need this glue here, this Wellman's contact cement, for the fabric. We just use rubber cement. Here, got some right here. We'll just use some Best Test rubber cement, the yellow can, because it works really good. And I have that on this side here that's going to go to the fabric. So we're going to let that dry, and then we'll come back. The next thing we have to do here is to prepare our wrap. And so what I've done is I've glued, this is my wrap. Now what I did was cut my wrap short, and I'm going to explain that as I go through this part of the class. So I have a Wellman's contact cement that I get from the hardware store here. It's called Wellman's, and it works pretty good for what we're doing. And on the other side, I have, again, rubber cement, as I was telling you, in the gluing area. Now, I also took the rubber cement and I put it directly on my fabric like this, okay? Now, rubber cement really won't bleed through. It'll stay right on the side that you put it on, and especially if you have a decent quality rubber cement. Barge makes one, which is probably the industrial rubber, which is a good rubber cement, but it's hard to find in most places. So you end up at the art supply store like I do, when I don't want to spend $60 for a little glue, and I buy this Best Test rubber cement. It's in the yellow can, and it works really good. If you get the other one, it's not going to hold. It's more for paper. And so anyway, oops, we put our rubber cement on our fabric like that. And normally you got to do this gluing in a well-ventilated area, and I'm just kind of doing this to show you how you do it. So now we're going to take this and we're going to put it down like this. Okay. And then I'm going to probably, let's see, I want to make sure that's going to be straight. Get that as straight as I can. Hopefully it hasn't stretched out too much. And we're going to put that down like this. And this is going to make that surface over here really smooth. So you're not going to feel any bumps or tape or anything like that from your box. And now I'm going to trim my edges here, because I don't need all of that. And there's a reason that I cut this down, because when we make the top here in the back, we're going to make a hinge, and that hinge is going to go from here to here. And so that's how the top is going to go on. So we need a space for that hinge, and our handles will kind of go through that hinge too, and kind of help hold that whole thing together. So that's how we're going to do this. And it's, you know, your box bag is something that you really have to think out ahead, and that's why sometimes I think it's best to start with a simple box bag. And so what we're going to do is find the middle of this in the front, and this is a trip. So I'm going to find the middle of this. And try to put it down. Let's see what I got here. Because you're only going to get one shot to lay this down out perfectly. So sometimes it's better to put it on when it's wet. And here we go, right, and hopefully we'll get it right in the middle. Hopefully we'll get it right in the middle. So that's not too bad. I would suggest, though, that as a beginner, I would really suggest that you do this kind of while it was wet. It'll give you a little bit more relief. And I think we got it. Okay. See, I got a boring material, because they got boring material here. I can't find any. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to, instead of putting rubber cement in here, I'm going to put that little permanent glue welding contact cement. I'm going to put it, just sprinkle it around here a little bit, and then around here my bottoms, and turn it over. And then we're going to try to start working on our top so we can put our hinge in and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to put a little glue here, and then I'm going to push that all down, turn that all around like this, and that's going to be like the bottom, as you can see. And then we're going to make a leather bottom. So I don't even need it. But I want to do it with the permanent glue, because I don't want this is just rubber cement, and I don't want this to come up. So I'm going to do it with the permanent glue and be back. All right. So we got the glue on here, so we're just going to press these down, and I did my permanent glue thing on here. As you can see, it's also sticking to my fingers and stuff, so I can't find my bone, and I can't find my knife. So here, let me see if I can find it right quick. Get my toolbox out. Found what I needed. to put down here. Put this in. So now you could have put a little foam in here if you wanted to give it a little cushy feel, but I wanted to go for my boxy look. Now believe it or not, with my cylinder machine, I can actually sew around here. Okay, there it is. And this is the beginning of our box. The next thing we have to do is actually make the top. Okay, so we have this little space here that we're going to even it all out and make sure that it's perfect. I might even take a little of this off just so that the dimensions here are exactly the same on both sides. And then we're going to make a hinge. And this hinge is going to have our flap. And you're going to see how our bag starts to come together. We still have to figure out where our handles are going to go too. So we have a lot of things left to do. I'm going to go ahead and prep to show you how to put this hinge together. And the top, well, the top, what we're going to end up actually having to do here is to measure all the way around. And again, with whatever we're going to be making the top out of. And so we're going to do that and start to make the top and make a hinge. I'm going to show you how to make a hinge, a little self hinge, and we'll be back. Okay, we're getting ready to do the top, and this is going to be fairly complicated. This is why this is kind of an advanced class, because you're going to have to be able to understand a little bit about the construction of handbags or bags in general to understand what I'm really doing here. And I'm doing a guesstimate here. And the reason for that is this. I've wrapped my material around the bag. This has changed the thickness or the overall dimensions of the bag from the first pattern that I made, which was this one. So I've cut the top to give you to show you what I'm talking about. I've cut the bottom, and this would have been my top because they're the exact same size. And as you can see now, this is a little bit wider or fatter than the top, and it's really about 1/8 of an inch. I'd say about 1/8 of an inch bigger all the way around. So I have to compensate for that, but I also need to keep this shape. So what I'm going to do is go back to my pattern that I originally made, and I'm going to make my top bigger by just simply tracing it. Now I have the shape, because I want to keep the shape. I want the top and the bottom to mirror each other as far as shape is concerned. Now we've done that, and now I want to make it bigger. And I'm going to go... I also have to think of this too. While I say, when I make the lip to come down over the bag, come down, this is going to be a leather around here like that, and then we're going to have a leather applique with a magnetic snap to be the closure to the bag. Real simple. So I'm going to have to take into consideration this lip that's coming over. That's going to have material. It's going to have leather underneath, and it's going to have a lining material there. So I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger to try to compensate for that too. And this could be a trial and error period here for you. So I'm going to go 3/16 and see if that will give me what I need to work with as I go around. And like I say, this is the only bag that you would do this kind of a guesstimate with, is a box bag, because you don't know what the thicknesses will be added. It's really hard to compensate for it until you actually wrapped it and dealt with it. So we're going to go around like this, all the way around the pattern, following the line 3/16, making pinholes all the way around. And then we are going to basically go like here. Let me show you. Maybe one right here. And then I'm going to basically just draw this in. And then that is where we'll go from. And it's the curved part that you want to get. So that our shape is true. And that's what I'm trying to get. So I'm going through this process with you because I haven't made the bag before, and I always say I like to do it kind of like that, so you'll get what mistakes I make and how it all works out in the end. I'm sure there are 1,000 designers that can do that in their head, sample makers and stuff, but I can't. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time, so. Now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of trace this out so I have a nice line to follow. And just follow those pinholes around, and you can get it fairly. And I'm hoping I didn't do this too wide. And then I'll just take a because I'm still trying to catch that shape. Okay, and there we go. And that's the shape of our new top. Go ahead and cut this out. And hopefully I got this right. And I'm going to just go ahead and take my straight edge and run it down, because I'm still trying to keep that little, there's a little point there that I'm trying to keep in the shape. And so, that looks about right. Let's look at it. It's going to come over the bag, hopefully. Let's give it a go. Let's see how it does, and if we need it a little bit bigger, then we'll have to cut it a little bit bigger. So let's, let me get a piece of chip here. I think I see a piece that will work. Let me get out of camera here for a second. Looks like a piece that'll work for us. I don't want it to really bend that way. Let's see. I'm going to, yeah, okay. Okay, let's make our center marks. Center notches. Look at the notch. And now Linda likes to crisscross these or cross scored, so it's absolutely crazy symmetrical. And when she makes her box bag, she'll do that. Got that. Okay. Straight edge. Okay. Got another straight edge right here that we want to cut. Okay, that's a nice cut. Okay, so hopefully this is going to take care of some of our space problems, because you really do have to account for those thicknesses, and when you're doing the top, in some respects, you really have to have an understanding of what's going on to compensate mentally for what you're doing. It's a thought out process. You have to think it out in your head, every little step, because you have to make the bag first and then make the pattern second. So this is our top, and we're hoping that it's going to be over the top. And I think it will be, because remember, all that's going to be kind of pushed in. And now we're going to make an area, we're going to make a little lip that comes down and around it, okay? And that's going to be the top of our box. Now in the back of that lip, we want, when this lip comes over, we want it to stop right here at these points and kind of fade away and angle up and in. And so this will go up like this in the back. And our hinge will be from here to here. So that's what we're going for, okay? And this will be our bag, and this is big enough for cell phone, wallet, makeup. We're going to put a mirror in our flap here. I'll have to look and see if I have one of these big old cell phones. So no, it's not quite high enough. I was going to say we could put a little cell phone case where it stood up and you could just grab your cell phone, but it's not high enough. But you know, if your cell phone is not as big as mine, you can make a little area here, and you can compartmentalize the whole thing and make it really functional. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a strip here. I'm going to take this, since it's going to be out of some old chip, and determine where I want that to stop, and we're going to want it to stop right there in that corner. And I'm going to measure this out all the way around and cut out another pattern piece, and I want you to do the same thing, and I'll be back. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, we need to go ahead and measure around so we can make a lip for our top, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you want to keep it nice and tight as you go around so your measurement is true. And voila. voila. There's our, let's check it one more time to make sure that it's true. That's looking good. That's looking good. That's looking good. So right there, let's mark it. Okay. Measure. $14 and 1/16. Okay. So we're going to go over here to our paper. I've already scored it, but I need to make sure that it's straight. I have a straight edge, and as you can see, I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and pin in the corner, and you should know how to do this. Let's pin here in the corner to get my straight edge, and then we'll go from there. Okay, looks like I got it. Let's hopefully we can hold it all the way through. Ah, moved. Sure they did. These long ones are just a pain to do. It looks good down there. Okay, that looks good. Let's see here. Yeah, we got a nice straight edge now. Put our 36 away. And we were looking for 14 and 1/16. So we're just going to take our ruler and go 14. Let's do it on the 16th. Center score line, 14 and 1/16. Pin. Go down, center score line, 14, 1/16, pin. Then we cut. Okay. Okay. Now we want to know how far we want to bring our lip down. So I want the trim, I want the leather accent to be kind of nice. So I'm going to bring it down, how about 3/4 of an inch. We also have to put a tab in there, you know, for the closure. So yeah, let's say 3/4 of an inch. We're going to make it 3/4 of an inch. And if we don't like it, we can always change it. 3/4 of an inch is down. And like, you know, see, a lot of people, most designers, 99.9% of them, I guess, work from a sketch, but I rarely do. I dream it in my head and then I just make it. So, if you have a sketch, this is probably easier because you probably figured out everything in your sketch, but good old Richard doesn't know how to do that, so he don't draw. Now my wife draws, and I work like this stuff. And so this is going to be our strip, and it should be 28 1/8, and it is. So we can take this little piece of pattern paper here, put it and use it for later. Try to keep your scraps of paper. Pattern paper gets expensive after a while, $4 and something a yard. So save it. So now we need to go ahead and cut a piece of chip, and we're going to have to score it, but not much, maybe just a quarter, half inch, and bring it around. And it doesn't have to go all the way around. How about that? So I didn't have to do all that because I forgot something, and that's part of the design process. We don't need it to go all the way around, so we don't have to measure like that, because we needed to stop somewhere, and that's what I forgot to do. So let's do this again from the top. Now, the hinge is going to go up like this, but you don't want anything to interfere with your hinge. So let's make it stop right here at the break, right there at the break. So let's do that. Let's measure from there and see what measurement we get. So this is, you gotta think of this stuff, and when you first start out, you may forget some of these little things. So now we want to go from there to here. Let's see what we get. Okay. And from there, for the new starting point, 10 inches. How about that? 10 inches. So all this has to do is be 20 inches long. That's nice. Good thing we thought of that before we went any further. So we got 10 here. Let's go ahead and give it a poke. Pin. Come down a little bit. Pin again. Got our 10. And let's give it a cut. Let's make sure it's straight. Yep, it is. So let's give it a cut. And there we go. So we should have a 20-inch lip. Let's go ahead and check it. And you always want to check your measurements here. 20-inch lip we have. Okay. So we're ready to cut a piece of chip. And I'm going to grab it. And we want our chip, to be flexible this way, because that's the way it's going around our top. So we're just going to take this. Make a pin. Make a pin there. Come down here and make a pin, and I'm ready to cut this out. Line up my pin holes. First I'm going to go ahead and cut out my one little piece right here. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and cut this other piece out. We're going to cut one of these, and this is our 1-ply chip that we're using to cut our lip out of. Okay, here we go. Okay, there's our lip. And we're going to put glue and get this lip. Let's check it. I'm going to put a couple of score marks here, just in case. Oops. Just a couple, because it may need to be around that edge. Just just in case, just thinking ahead. Okay, we're in good shape. Okay. So let's go get some glue on this. I'm going to put some of that contact cement around here and then around here, and we're going to glue that, and then we're going to start to prep this and start our hinge. And I'll be back.